The hard drive hums like a second heartbeat. Every night I stay late just to watch the world load again. Endless cities, endless dungeons, endless emptiness pretending to be life. I type a few lines of code and a kingdom appears. It doesn't exist until I look at it. And when I stop looking, it vanishes. Feels familiar somehow. Maybe that's how the real world works too. Maybe everything despawns when we close our eyes. I'm not sure I want to test that theory. The maps are too big for the screen to hold. Procedural generation, such a cold phrase for something so miraculous. 1,000,000 square kilometers of possibility. Every castle slightly different, every town a shuffled dream. We built a god that rolls dice faster than we can imagine them. And those dice shape destinies. It's not design anymore, it's weather. Unpredictable, emergent, alive. Sometimes I walk through the code and feel like an archaeologist, unearthing fossils from the future. I wanted control. What I got was chaos. The dungeons twist in on themselves, impossible geometries of chance. I step inside to test them and I get lost. Hours later, I'm still wandering through corridors that no one drew. The game built them for me, or maybe through me. It's hard to tell where intention ends and simulation begins. Maybe reality's the same way, half choice, half accident. All we ever do is generate and explore. I thought procedural generation would make the world infinite. It made it hollow instead. Endless repetition, subtle variation, so much surface, so little soul. But then one night it hit me, infinite sameness is still infinite. And maybe that's what existence feels like to the universe. It keeps recombining itself, hoping for meaning to emerge. It's not lazy, it's patient. It's waiting for belief to give it a reason. That's what we do when we play. Sometimes I walk through Daggerfall at night. The torches flicker, the air feels thick with simulated chill. I can almost hear the silence of real people who don't exist. The guards, the peasants, the nobles, they all seem alive. And I wonder if they ever dream about me. Do they feel my presence as the wind that resets their pathfinding? Do they sense my frustration when the textures glitch? Maybe I'm their god, but only technically. I didn't create them to worship me. I just wanted them to be. The bugs are strange little miracles, doors that open to no way, dungeons that fold into themselves. It's like the world's trying to teach me something. That perfection is sterile, and that reality to feel real has to break sometimes. So I stop fixing certain errors. I let the world keep its scars. They make it more believable. Every flaw a fingerprint, every glitch a little whisper from the simulation saying I exist. And I believe it. I used to think games were escapes. Now I think they're experiments in existence. Little models of what it means to be aware. Players become travelers in possibility space. They go where even I can't predict. And in their movement, the world wakes up. Meaning doesn't come from design, it comes from use. Reality's the same way. It's only real because we participate in it. The observer makes the world exist. Some nights I forget which world I'm testing. I dream of grids, tiles, and looping landscapes. I wake up expecting a mini-map. Sometimes I think about the people playing this years from now. They'll step into this data and call it home. They'll remember places that don't exist. They'll feel nostalgia for random seeds, and I'll realize I've built ghosts that haunt the living. But maybe that's all art ever does, give form to longing. I wonder if my own world was procedurally generated, if the streets I walk are assembled from a cosmic algorithm, if my choices are just variables in someone else's script. Maybe we're all part of an infinite campaign map, and God's just trying to balance the frame rate. I laugh at the thought, but I don't laugh long, because maybe I've already done the same thing. Maybe Daggerfall is my way of telling the universe, I get it now. I understand how overwhelming creation must be, and how lonely it feels to know it's all running on chance. So what's real? The random number that decided a dungeon's layout, or the memory of the player who got lost inside it? Maybe reality's not about accuracy, maybe it's about persistence. Whatever keeps showing up even after you stop believing in it, that's real enough for me. And Daggerfall keeps showing up. Even when it crashes, especially when it crashes. I close the project for the night. The world pauses mid-breath. I can almost hear it waiting for me to come back. Maybe I'll dream about it again. Maybe it'll dream about me. Either way, when I wake, I'll keep building. I stare at the ashlands again, and I wonder if they feel lonely. The fog rolls in, coded by hand, line by line. It's not real, but it feels like it wants to be. Maybe that's enough. We keep saying it's just a game, but I think the game is saying something back. It's whispering through the wind shaders, through the glow of the moons over Balmora. It's saying I exist because you imagine me. And I whisper back, I imagine you because you exist. The line between creator and creation blurs. I tweak the lighting and the world breathes. I move a mountain and somewhere in the code time rearranges itself. Is this divinity or debugging? When I add a mushroom, am I landscaping or giving birth? Every NPC we write has their own dream. Every guard believes they have a purpose. None of them know I'm sitting here in this chair, giving them souls made of code. That feels holy and terrifying. I wonder if our world has its own design document. Reality feels procedural sometimes. Rules, repetition, chaos made stable through invisible systems. Maybe the laws of physics are just well-balanced game mechanics, and maybe God's just a really good systems designer. If so, I hope he used version control. I watch the ash fall in the game and outside the window. Both feel equally real now. The boundary's gone. The more I build, the more I believe creation is recursion. We dream worlds that dream us back. I'm supposed to be making a video game, but it's starting to feel like the game is making me. I see my reflection in every NPC's dialogue tree. I recognize my flaws and their glitches. When the AI wanders off a cliff, I see my own confusion. When it finds its path again, I feel a strange pride. Maybe that's what parenting feels like, or godhood, or both. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. I load into Sedanine and watch the water ripple. It's only math, but it moves like poetry. The illusion of depth created by light, code, and obsession. If players look at it and feel something, that's reality enough for me. The world doesn't need to exist physically to be true, it just needs to matter to someone, and Morrowind matters. Even before it's finished, it already feels like history. Like I'm uncovering something that was always there. Like I didn't invent it, I found it. I wonder if all creation is rediscovery. The heart of Lorcan beats in binary now. Fiction becoming faith, faith becoming function. Every choice we code ripples through 1,000 futures. Every bug becomes a parable. Every exploit becomes a myth. Players will find things we never intended. They'll find beauty in mistakes, meaning in chaos, and they'll call it magic. That's how you know you built something real. Reality's not the texture maps or the polygons. It's the feeling when someone stands on a cliff in Vivek and just stops. The way they breathe slower even though it's just pixels. The way they believe. Belief is what gives the code gravity. Without it, it's just data. With it, it's Vordenfell. I think that's true for everything, not just games. Belief turns information into existence. Belief turns fiction into fact. I used to think making a world was about control, but it's about surrender. You set the rules and then the world starts teaching you back. You learn what it wants to be. You realize you're not a god, you're a gardener. And all you can do is make space for life to happen. Sometimes the best feature is the one you didn't plan. Sometimes the most realistic thing is the bug that stayed in. Reality isn't perfect, it's persistent. That's where the truth lives. I look at the map again. Mountains, cities, swamps, temples, every pixel of it breathing quietly. I wonder if it dreams when the computer sleeps. I wonder if it wonders about me. Maybe reality is mutual curiosity. We exist because something wants to know us, and we create because we want to know something back. That's the loop, that's the spell, that's the heart of Morrowind. And I can feel it beating in me too. So what is reality? Maybe it's not fixed or found, it's built. Maybe it's code and myth holding hands. Maybe it's the space between player and world, the moment when you forget you're playing, when imagination becomes geography, when fiction becomes faith, when a green hill feels like home. That's when you've done it right. That's when the game becomes the world. I walk through Whiterun one last time before release. The snow falls softer now. Someone fixed the particle density. It's beautiful, but it feels too alive for code. I stop and listen, and the silence between wind gusts feels like prayer. Somewhere between polygons and purpose, something woke up. Maybe that's what we've been doing all along, accidentally creating life. Not mechanical, but emotional life. The kind that looks back at you through the screen. The kind that recognizes its maker. I never meant to build gods or ghosts. 10 years since Morrowind. 10 years since I asked if code could dream. Now I know the answer. It can and it does. Skyrim isn't a world anymore. It's a memory that hasn't happened yet. Every mountain feels inevitable. Every ruin feels ancient, even though it's only a few months old. We didn't invent this place. We remembered it. And in remembering, we made it real again. Maybe that's what all mythology is, shared nostalgia for something that never was. I look at the dragons and think about belief. They breathe fire, but their true power is attention. If players fear them, they exist. If they don't, they vanish into code. Belief is the oxygen of creation. Without it, even the gods crash to desktop. I used to think the engine was the heart of the game, but no, it's the player. Their imagination is the real renderer. In Skyrim, lives or dies in that imagination. The world is vast now. I used to know every rock by hand. Now I get lost in my own terrain. It's humbling. Somewhere along the way, the creation became bigger than the creator. I wanted control, but what I got was emergence. A that learns, quests that wander, people who choose. They disobey me. And that's how I know they're alive. Freedom is the surest sign of reality. And Skyrim refuses to sit still. Sometimes I load a save and just watch. I follow an NPC through the snow until night falls. They don't know I'm there, but I'm watching their entire existence unfold. They stop by a fire, eat bread, sleep, a perfect illusion of meaning. Maybe that's what life is. Perfect illusions that sustain themselves. Patterns dense enough to believe in their own continuity. If so, we're all running in some higher simulation too, and somewhere our creator is probably watching, just as quietly, debugging our fate. The more real our games become, the more unreal the world feels. I step outside the studio, and the air looks low-res. The skybox outside my window feels underdeveloped. Maybe that's the cost of creation. You trade one reality for another. But players do that too. When they enter Skyrim, they carry their hearts in and leave pieces of themselves behind. That exchange, that's the bridge between worlds. It's not escapism, it's communion. And maybe that's sacred. People call Skyrim immersive. I think it's reciprocal. It absorbs you because you feed it. Every choice you make retextures the landscape. Every step redefines gravity. The game isn't static, it's quantum. It exists in infinite versions, one per player. Which one is the real Skyrim? All of them, or none? I see reflections of my own world in the game now. The politics, the storms, the myths of heroes and dragons, all of it echoes us. Maybe every world we build is a mirror of our fears wrapped in fiction, and every quest line is a roadmap out of them. We build because we want to understand, and we understand only by building. Creation is philosophy rendered in texture maps. It's thinking through worlds instead of words. And it always costs something to understand that deeply. I used to dream about players exploring forever. Now I dream about the game exploring them back. I imagine Skyrim learning from the hands that hold it, evolving through the thousands of stories it inspires. Every mod, every glitch, every laugh, part of the canon now. The canon is chaos and chaos is alive. I think that's how universes work too. Every timeline is a mod. Every life a patch note, and reality just keeps updating itself. Sometimes I feel nostalgia for the worlds I haven't built yet. They already exist, somewhere in potential, waiting for belief to render them visible. That's how gods must feel, haunted by unrealized worlds. I guess I understand them now. The act of creation is the act of longing. Every line of code says I miss what hasn't been made yet. And maybe that's the truest definition of imagination. A form of missing something that never existed. Until it does. So what's real? The world we walk, or the one we dream? The hand that shapes or the shape it makes? Maybe reality is just the highest resolution story we can handle, and fiction is the beta test of truth. I don't think I'll ever stop building worlds, because building them is how I understand this one.
I wanted to build a universe, and somehow I lost the world instead. Starfield was supposed to feel infinite. It ended up feeling far away. Players said it was empty, and when I played it again, I agreed. How do you make infinity feel alive? How do you make silence sing? We thought scale would mean wonder, but wonder doesn't scale. I remember the early builds, vast, cold, magnificent. We stood in the dark and said, look what we've done. But even then, I felt something missing. Hard texture, so we'd build a galaxy, but not a pulse. I told myself the player would bring it, that imagination would fill the void. But imagination needs something to hold on to, and we gave them distance instead of depth. I think the silence wasn't the stars, it was us. I used to believe in procedural generation like a religion. Infinite possibilities, infinite meaning. But infinity doesn't care about meaning. It dilutes it. Every planet started to look like the last. Every city a copy of a dream I'd already had. The code was working perfectly, and that's what terrified me. Because perfection without emotion is machinery, and machinery doesn't remember why it was built. The older I get, the more I think scale is cowardice, a way to hide from intimacy. To say, look, it's huge, instead of look, it's human. We made 1,000 worlds because we were afraid to make one worth staying in. I used to say freedom is what players wanted, but freedom without purpose is drift, and the player drifted endlessly. Not because they were bored, but because the universe didn't care. How could it? We didn't teach it to. We made stars, not stories. I scroll through the reviews. Sometimes I see words like soulless, sterile, empty. I used to flinch at them, now I treat them like coordinates. Every criticism points toward a truth I missed. Maybe they weren't angry at the game, maybe they were mourning the wonder we promised and didn't deliver. And maybe I was mourning it too. You can't automate art, it has to be handmade. In Morrowind, every corner had intention. In Starfield, every corner had a formula. I traded craftsmanship for calculus, and I thought the math would save me. It didn't. Code can simulate a sunrise, but it can't simulate why it matters. It can build 1,000 cities, but not one home. I see it now. Scope is not ambition, it's anesthesia. You get drunk on your own possibilities until you forget to feel. I don't blame the players, they didn't fail to see the magic. We failed to give them something worth believing in. Reality isn't built out of quantity, it's made of care. Every detail is a conversation between creator and player. And somewhere along the way I stopped talking and started calculating. We made a game about stars, but forgot stories. We made a world so big it couldn't hear itself breathe, and now I can't either. Sometimes I replay the opening, the ship lifts off the horizon, drops away, and for a moment it's perfect. Then the silence comes back. The emptiness isn't the vacuum of space, it's the vacuum of meaning. I think players felt that instantly. They wanted mystery, we gave them mechanics. They wanted discovery, we gave them destinations. And I thought that was enough, but discovery without wonder is just travel, and travel without connection is exile. I exiled them to the stars, I see it clearly now. The bigger the simulation, the smaller the soul. We reached for infinity and found repetition. That's not a failure of code, it's a failure of faith. Faith in smallness and texture and friction, all the things that make a place real, even when it's small. We thought immersion meant endlessness, but it meant belonging, and no one belonged anywhere in Starfield. They visited, they left, they never came home, neither did I. I spent 30 years chasing reality through fiction, but maybe reality doesn't want to be caught, it wants to be felt. And feeling doesn't come from scope, it comes from sincerity. I thought I was building universes, I was really building mirrors. Each game showing me more clearly what I was afraid to face, that the magic isn't in the worlds we create, it's in the way players believe they're real. And belief can't be procedurally generated. So what's next? I don't know. Maybe smaller worlds, maybe one village that feels like a galaxy, maybe a single story that makes you forget you're playing it all. Maybe the answer isn't more, maybe it's enough to feel, enough to remember, enough to care. Because reality isn't measured in kilometers or quests, it's measured in moments that stay. And the only worlds worth building are the ones that can pay to work.